there was so much in one place, under one roof, in one room. It was unbelievable. I never thought in a million years that would be doable.
And then we did it with our friends. Like, it was like all of our friends were there. And
wow. Welcome to episode number 3 of the PokeRadar podcast. Today, we have another returning guest from the old previous one that you guys may have watched 1,000 times because he is that amazing and that informative. But this is one of my closest friends in the hobby, one of my really first inspirations, and honestly kind of a mentor. We have the one and only Gem Mint Pokemon. What's up, Zack?
what's up, John? How's it going? I'm so excited to be here. So excited to help support your podcast. And I remember the first time we kind of hung out in person, LA Worlds, 2017 Anaheim. I remember you were selling some gym, some Neo packs. And it was like $10 a piece back then. And you were like, all right, Zach, if you get 20 or 30, maybe we go down to 9. And I was like, John, I got you. I got to buy these VS boxes. Got all these deals going on. And I just want to say, I really appreciate your comment, kind of viewing me as a mentor, because I think as time goes on and we've gotten closer and closer, I almost feel like the mentee has become the mentor as well. And so as things have almost shifted in my minds, where I come to you for advice and stuff now. And I just want to say that I've appreciated the friendship over the years, and I truly value your advice, and it means a lot to me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's been 2017. We've known each other for 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny to me. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe a lot of people feel this way, but after college, I didn't know how to make friends. growing up in elementary school, you have, your parents just throwing you out the wayside. You got school. You start doing activities outside of school. You got sports. You got there's always something going on in your life until after college you get thrown into the workforce, where maybe you get lucky, you get a big company with a bunch of young people. But for me, I went to a company that had a bunch of older people, and it was just how are you guys making new friends? I don't get it. And Pokemon became that I don't know, reservoir, or that what do you want to call it? Where do they all go? Where do all animals go in the safari? The oasis. It was like the oasis for me of figuring out how to make new friends outside of school and sports and all that. And you were one of the first. I mean, like you said, we met in Worlds in person for the first time, but for probably a year, 2 years before that, we were, chatting a lot on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
We're talking it up. You had the gym challenge, booster case deal you did, where you're like, I went to a card shop and this guy has this first edition gym challenge case. I don't really want to buy it all. You hit up me. I think you hit up PokeRadar. We hit up one of our friends, Australia. A few other people hey, you guys all want a box? I was like, I just want a box too. And that was one of our first big deals together. And I got to admit, those were some of the mintiest boxes I've ever seen. Just, you're like, I pulled it out of the case. And that was almost surreal.
Yeah,
we've done many deals, here and there in between, and I think the cool part about the hobby is a lot of us are kind of like hub and spoke, and so we may go our separate ways for a month or 2 months, but we always come back together at Worlds. We always come back together at the different events, and it's like you can kind of talk and kind of hear all the deals that are going on, and you're like, oh, you did this deal, or oh, I did that deal, and it's like, oh, I knew the buyer there. You're like, oh, I knew the seller there. Like, oh, well, that's what happened, and you start connecting these dots, and the hobby is so much smaller than what you think it is, and just having those in-person events, seeing people in person, building relationships, it truly is what the hobby is all about. And I just feel lucky to have grown our relationship over the years.
Yeah, and it's kind of started the circle back. It's I've said this for a while. 2017 Worlds was my first Pokemon event ever. I didn't know anybody. Right. I had just gotten into it, kind of taking it seriously, and they were the only person I knew of that was going there, so we were trying to meet up. And that's when we got to meet Charlie and Pratt, and Slowpoke was there, and people. There was Thorgene, if that's a throwback name for anybody. There was a whole bunch of people there that it sparked my interest to a whole nother level with Pokemon going to this event. And that was kind of the last of its era for that event. And then 2019, where I skipped 2018, 2019 Worlds was another kind of like, I felt, last of an era type event where
Mm-hmm.
there was, this group of guys that we all knew each other. We all did deals with one another. And after that, things just exploded.
Oh yeah.
And it felt different. I like at first, you don't like change. There's new people. Hey, who do you think you are? Trying to be, but
Don't gatekeep.
over
Don't gatekeep. The
but yeah,
hobby's for
well,
everyone.
that's
The hobby's for
right,
everyone.
right. No, I'm just saying that's how the general feeling was
Yeah.
in the beginning of when that started, and through COVID, and now to these events again. We were just at card party together. It feels like that again, and it's with so many more people now, and it's incredible. Like, I really love that it's back to that kind of more wholesome, just there to enjoy the moment each other, and not just trying to one up each other on a deal or whatever it is. So I feel like that vibe's back. We're back, baby.
We're
Pokemon's
back.
back.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. And, big shout out to Pat, Deep Pocket Monster. I think he put on one of the best events I've ever been to. I think Card Party will be the marquee event of the year going forward. I think, if you look at Pokemon Worlds, if you've ever been to Pokemon Worlds, it's very pro hobby and it's very sort of pure and innocent. And there's not really any vendors. And, if you transact at the venue, they'll kick you out. Like, it's like, don't buy and sell, just come appreciate the hobby. So you have that sort of on one spectrum. And then you have, Collecticons and the National and card shows where it's all vendors. The entire event is just vendor. And, who can you buy and sell with? Who can you trade with? Who can you grow your collection with? And Card Party is saying, hey, there's something in between that we're not really addressing. There's the collector, the hobby enthusiast, that you don't necessarily have to make a deal to enjoy the hobby. You don't necessarily have to buy something or sell something. Maybe I just want to bring my cards and show you, John, the cool Jolteon I got. That Diego gave me a card party, the off-center Jolteon. Shout out Bulbasaur Diego. He wouldn't let me pay for it. He's like, dude, you got to take this, and that's what the hobby's all about. Just enjoy what you love, and I feel like that's what Card Party was. What do you think, John?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Pat. I think with his experience outside of Pokemon in the world of business, kind of saw a great opportunity and executed beautifully. And he went above and beyond. First show, I'm sure he probably lost money, but like, he made it about the influencers and their fans. So connecting those people, which has been non-existent in Pokemon, just because it really hasn't been to the level yet, I think, to this point. And then it had the card show part, which was fantastic. Like, set up the vendors, but he tied in a lot of networking capabilities there with businesses and like a TCG player and Stadium and whoever sponsored the events and all that. And then he also had even more of a fun side with a kind of a tournament and a place to play the card game and do all that stuff, and had panels, and he tied in so many things, but was able to push the focal point on certain areas that really made it seem different than what others have tried to do in the past. So, yeah, I mean, I was opening packs like crazy, way too crazy.
You might have pulled some heat there.
I pulled some heat. I tend to get lucky at these things. I've been saying I've been lucky for 10 years now. I think it's just good at this, or I don't know. But like,
Lucky John.
That Lab Frank, Harry, me and him were opening packs together, and we both pulled an Ampharos, and we ended up just signing it for each other, so we could remember the moment. Like, Harry pulled a first edition Neo Revelation Ampharos. Like, it wasn't a PSA 10. That's why we decided, like, all right. And then I pulled I don't know, Dragon Frontiers or something, and we signed it and gave it to each other. And those little moments like that are created at these events are what it's all about. So
yeah, and
Pat, good job.
Dude, he did great. And, like you said, opening packs, the Heritage booth, they were doing this little pack battle thing. And so Simon, who runs Fan Displays, he and I went over there and did like a pack battle. And we both pulled one holo. I pulled a Chansey, and he pulled a I think a Hitmonchan, and I said, hey, like we got to sign the cards and give them to each other just like you did with Harry. And so what I love is, you get something signed by one of your friends or someone that you care about in the hobby, and you build a binder page, and maybe it's not of Arita and Sugimori, but you get the Johns, the Simons, the Harrys, and it's like that's a pretty special binder page too. And I don't think Simon had done that before, because at the end, like he signed one, then I signed one, we exchanged. Like, oh man, it's so cool. And so by coming to the event, you get to learn more about the hobby, you get to see the other things you can do, and you really get to kind of experience it with your friends and move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually the first experience I had that was with you. We at 2019 Worlds, I don't know if you remember this, in Washington, D.C., we were in the lobby waiting for the event to start. A bunch of people were around. I brought heavy base set packs, unlimited. Me, you, Swolepoke, and June got together, and we're like, hey, let's all open a pack together. It was a heavy base set pack. It was like $150, something like that at the time. And I opened the first one, pulled the Charizard. We almost got kicked out because we were all going so crazy. And then, got around to you. You opened up a Magneton, and you were like, hey, can you sign this for me? And signed that Magneton for you. And that was we all looked at each other like, what? Like, why would you want me to sign this? It'll get a PSA 10.
I remember you saying that. You're like, dude, are you sure? Like this is a $150 pack. That's so much money. Like, why do you want me to sign this? And I looked at the card, and I thought it might have been an 8 at best. And a base set 8 Magneton at the time was like $20 or $30, or, it wasn't much. And I looked at you, I was like, John, like I value you signing this and me keeping that. Like, to me, that's worth way more than the $20 or $30. Like, this moment, this experience, it'll be everlasting. And I think that's what these events are about.
Yeah, that Charizard graded a 6 that I had. So,
Sorry, man.
I sold another pack. I only brought 6 with me. One of them I sold. Another Charizard was pulled, and that one got a 10. So I opened up the wrong Charizard.
Why do you pull a Charizard every event we're at? Like, I feel like every event we're at, we see like a base set Charizard pulled, and it's like how is this possible?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I did Lugia, first Ed Lugia this time at Card Party, man. Were you there, or were you sitting at a different table at the time?
We
no, you were a little bit to the left, I think.
I don't think you opened it up while I was there. I was at dinner with a couple friends, and when we got back to, right, you won't believe what John pulled, and he's like, he's got some more first Ed Genesis.
Oh no, you were back because the screwball is in the background of the video.
Oh my gosh.
So you were wandering probably. I don't think you were right. You weren't right next to me. I don't know, but yeah, dude, what a pull! First edition Neo Genesis Lugia, solid PSA 8.
Sometimes I feel like the water boy at some of these events. Just going around making sure everyone's hydrated properly. Get everything flowing.
I don't know. You're one of the more famous ones, man. You got a ton of people out there looking for you.
No, it's weird. Going to the events, like none of the kids and stuff come up, but it's like all the creators. Like, I feel like I know all you guys, and you guys are also kind and generous. But it's like I don't do all the flashy stuff here and there. I really just try to just give good content, good knowledge, and I don't really do giveaways because I don't really want to attract the wrong audience. It's like, if you want to be here and watch it, great, but who knows, that may change in the future. So I'm kind of changing my perspective on that. I think in the past it was more about just I only really wanted to engage with people who really wanted to be in the hobby long term. I didn't really want to engage with people who were just kind of in and out, or maybe just trying to make a quick buck. And I think now I think there's a lot of cool things you can bring to the hobby, a lot of knowledge and things. So I'm having conversations now to maybe bring a higher quality sort of delivery. And it's not a skill I have, so I got to partner with some people to get that done. But I'm hoping that in the next probably few weeks or maybe a few months, I can show you guys a better sort of let you see some cool stuff that presented a little bit better than it has been.
Good, yeah. And before we touch on what you're doing now, because I do want to get some more insight on that. We could talk a little bit about your past with content. Like, you were the first person that I found in the Pokemon world on YouTube and started watching.
Oh my gosh!
We've talked about this before because I now have somebody that had that same experience with me, and all three of us have sat in the same room and talked, and it's just like this funny it's like this really cool full circle, like generational type thing. It's really, really awesome, even though we're all like the same age. But um, you were one of the very first, and your videos still provide so much value because people aren't really doing it the way that you do it. So
Hmm.
much value in the world of grading, the
Yeah.
way that you open packs, the way you talk about opening packs, the way you talk about handling cards and putting them in sleeves, and how PSA grades them, or whatever grading company you want to throw out there. Um, the way that you cared so much about like what you were doing instead of just a greater purpose of just opening packs,
Hmm.
it it resonated with so many people. I think a lot of us learned kind of the proper process and ethics of like, how do I handle this stuff in the right way to make sure to give myself the best chance to get PSA the best grades. And PSA is just getting full free marketing this video. uh, and um, and it's incredibly informative. And you talked about your collecting goals and what you were doing to achieve that, and the things you bought and all that. You still post some of these older videos you've had in I don't know, in the backlog for quite some time, but so it's fun to see. But like, what have you been doing recently? Because we've seen the podcast pop out. What's going on recently with content with you?
So recently, I've been kind of trying to get back into to get back out there, engaging with the community more. And I think, if you go back to some of the comments you just made, John, about talking about the cards and handling them and all that, like the goal was never to be a creator. The goal was never to make content. I collected for a year or so privately, and I couldn't complete my goals, so I made content as a way to try to complete my collection and meet other people and have that come to me. And so it wasn't like I'm making this video to show it off or this and that. The goal was like I wanted to meet people who had the same thoughts as me, and I wanted to protect the cards. I wanted to handle them right. It's like, okay, I learned this thing with PSA. Like, hey, if you learn that too, maybe another Neo Rev Ampharos can get graded. Then maybe it could come back through. So maybe some of those things were self motivating. Who knows? But it always came from a place of like, hey, I've learned this. I want to give back. And I think the Pokemon community is just so wonderful in regard that we always help each other. And there's not
Mm-hmm.
too many hobbies or businesses where everyone's just so open with information and trying to give back. But going to your latest comment, I've sort of done some reflecting over the last few months, and I think we're all very fortunate to be in the different places we are. And what I want to do is I want to have some way to connect with the community more. And I think it's time to actually decide to be a creator, decide to actually deliver high value content. So recently, I partnered with Tetra Ninja, Nick, to bring a podcast called Next Gen TCG, and I think great minds might think alike because John's also brought his podcast back to life. And what are we going to call it? Radar 2.0, or what's the is there a new name?
I'm just kind of sticking with the PokeRadar podcast. I mean, I've had so many
PokeRadar.
different versions at this point. It's like I had collectible conversations with Squeaks, which he says hi, by the way.
Oh,
I've had the King and I, where I did a podcast with Gary. I did collectors with cards drinking coffee. I did the PokeRadar podcast in the past as well, but I think I'm just going to stick with PokeRadar podcast. Keep the branding, unison, and I enjoy the creative names. I enjoy doing the logos and all this stuff. It's fun, but um, I got to be. I want to be more serious myself, like you. Like I
yeah.
want to. I want to show consistency to not only myself, because I feel like I've completely wrecked so many opportunities in my life by not being consistent,
Mm-hmm.
and to the fans, like the few that I have. I stopped making podcasts for like a year, and I still had people bugging me like, "When's it coming back? When's it coming back?" It's
People love you, man.
absolutely insane to me. So, and I appreciate it. I love you, random viewer, and like it's just unbelievable the amount of support that goes on in this community, even for years and years and years, even when when you don't do much.
Yeah, I think one thing to do is to really put ourselves in like the mind of the viewer and the eyes of the viewer. You know, in June or July 2023, like what do you want to see, and what brings you value? And I think the knowledge of the collector today is so much further beyond than what it was in 2013, 2012, 2015, where you kind of had this ramp up period. I used to say, like, you know, if you want to get into the hobby, just wait 3 months, just learn as much as you can, then hop in. Like, don't hop in right away. And the people that sort of come in today, they can ramp up really quickly within a few weeks or so, and just consume all that knowledge, because it's not coming from me, it's coming from you, it's coming from PokeRev, old school, Dan, got to catch him, Squeaks. It's coming from all these different places, and so the average collector is so much more educated today. And so if we put our eyes in the mind of the viewer, I think it's, you know, like what kind of value can we bring? What do you want to learn about? 192000 fossil? Do you want to learn about the different prints on the jungle? You know, if you had the European versus this, or, you know, were the e-reader cards, you know, made in America and then shipped over to Japan? I know we had that conversation over the weekend, and the disco prints and this, that. So it's like our I don't think people are still just collecting just unlimited base. I think people that want that probably have it. I think a lot of people are maybe doing modern or different things, but it's like, how can we further the community? How can we grow the community? And what are people looking to kind of hear, you know, in 2023?
Yeah, so it's next gen TCGs. That's the name of the podcast.
Next Gen TCG, Tetra Ninja, and myself. So it's a way
So
to hold us
yeah,
accountable and post every week. We have to do it.
yeah, and I've never had the opportunity to speak with Tetra. I've known of him forever because he's been around for a long time, but I think we came in and out of the hobby, or more seriously in and out of the hobby at like the wrong or right times, I guess, to miss one another. But he's like a full-fledged YouTuber, right? So he's been doing this, I don't know if it's his full-time gig or whatever, for many years. And so I think it's a great, nice little team up that you guys got going. He's got a great collection too, from what I hear. So the great thing about your podcast, from what I gathered in the first episode, is it's going to be, you know, much more informational. You guys will have a plan, unlike me, who just walks into this and hopes I can get an hour or the two out of it. So you'll have like kind of reoccurring segments, or like a really fleshed out schedule of what each podcast is going to be about, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I love talking to you. It's conversational, and the thing is, like, the podcasts aren't. There's no competition. It's how can we both get it as big as we possibly can, and you know, kind of
Right.
grow the audience to a point where we can sort of further the hobby. I think we both bring a very positive, you know, influence to the hobby, and so, you know, how do you make the end collector more educated? How do you make them more knowledgeable? Like, let's say you don't do anything Pokemon this week because you're on vacation, or maybe you had a busy week with work, or maybe your wife just had a baby and you're out and about. So, you know, if you can tune into this podcast, John's, or you tune into mine, you know, it's kind of a way to get up to speed on you know, what may have happened in the last week and kind of what the trends are and stuff. So we try to limit it to an hour or so, just kind of be quick with some of the topics, and just kind of give you whatever value we think is important for the previous week.
Good. Well, I'm excited for that to continue and ramp up. I know you did pretty well in your first one, which is great to see. And again, that's
Did you
something
crushed
that, like,
it? You had 3,000 views, man.
well, that's all PokeRev. Come on.
I don't know. I clicked on it because I saw John. PokeRev I thought was an advertisement. I was like, oh, I'm going to get memed here. I'm going to get Rick rolled.
It was just purely clickbait. He's not actually there. It's just me talking to myself because we have the same beard.
John and the AI.
That's right. I might have to do an episode of that. Great idea.
Dude,
what to buy.
Interview yourself, man. That'd be wild.
I hope I can get big enough where people do that for me, because I love those those little clips of like Joe Rogan talking to himself or whatever. They're hilarious. So maybe I'll get somebody out there to do that for me. Because the one thing that I'm doing differently this time, Zach, is focusing only on the podcast. When I was doing the podcast, I continued to have this idea that I wanted to be, you know, a YouTuber as well, not just a podcaster. So I was doing the opening videos, I was doing lives, I was doing so much, and I really believe in, like, you know, focusing on one thing and crushing it. And for whatever reason, I wasn't following that statement for myself. So that's what I'm doing now, is like podcast only. I'll do the clips, I'll do the shorts. It's a lot of work still, but it'll help really stay focused and hopefully continue doing well. I don't know about you, because you still you love posting your old videos. I know you got more. You got more on the back burner. Are you gonna? And you mentioned before in the beginning of this, like you want to potentially go all in and be a YouTuber. Would you? Would you? Are you gonna go after that?
I think it's almost like a dream come true. You know, when you think about what do you wake up for in the morning, what are you passionate about? You know, what gets you going? You know, I wake up, I check my phone, I'm doing Pokemon. I go to bed late at night, I'm doing Pokemon, and it's just this natural, like it's a happy place. And you know, I have some people. I've probably have so many people in the last like couple of weeks. They said, "Why don't you just sell everything and live on a beach?" And sort of my rationale is like, you know, if I hit the lottery today, like what would I do? I would go buy Pokemon cards. I'd go to the events. I'd hang out with you. I'd probably bug you more than ever. And like, I would do exactly what I'm doing today. And so it's this weird sort of scenario where it's like, you know, if you're out fishing already, why do you want to own the fleet? You know, why not just continue fishing? So I'm just so happy doing what I'm doing. And I have a few opportunities that are out there of ways to go live, to go full-time Pokemon. I'm pretty close to probably making that happen soon. It may happen before this podcast goes live. But if it does go live, if it does happen, I think it'll almost just be a dream come true. So part of that is I'll keep doing the podcast with Tetra. I'm probably going to post some videos on my own channel that'll probably be much higher quality. I'll have an editor and someone kind of do a lot of the touch ups, and I'll probably bring up some cards you may have never seen before. And then just kind of give them a nice glossy sort of finish in the sense of it's not just going to be me holding the card presenting it. It'll have probably some effects and things, and I think it'll be kind of a very highly engaging thing. So actually have that phone call right after our podcast tonight, and I'm going to pay for it. So I'm going to give the guy a pretty good amount of money for each video. But the goal isn't to profit on the video. The goal is to bring content to the community in a way that everyone can learn, be educated, and then it's preserved forever. So to me, when we pass on and move on, that video will still be out there and it'll exist. So,
and a higher quality too. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, I've done so many videos where I tried editors before, and it's expensive. I think of it as more of a business than like just putting out quality content, right? So, I do pay for a bunch of stuff for the podcast to make sure it's of higher quality, but hopefully one day I'll get to the point where I can throw an editor at it as well and even continue to improve that quality. Because, I mean, that's, again, going back to Pat now and Card Party, because I want to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where Pat found his niche. That's why he's crushing it. Nobody in Pokemon was creating high quality videos, both like storytelling quality, but also just like equipment quality and editing quality. Nobody was doing it, and he saw that opportunity, popped right in, and just started crushing it. And I mean, look at him now. He's on stage, got kids screaming at him. He's got the in sync microphone on his head. He's an entertainer. It's so like he's so good at it. I'm good with people. I'm socially like very comfortable, but doing what he did over that weekend for the entire weekend, not possible.
Dude, he's such a great dancer, man. Did you see when he busted the dance moves where his legs were like noodles and he was just like, I think I nudged you or I nudged someone next to me. I was like, dude, I wonder what he was like at his wedding, man. Like, I bet he was just tearing it up, like dude can dance.
Man. He's putting out some of the TikTok dances. It was hilarious. He seemed to have a blast. I haven't followed up with him yet, but I plan to probably tonight or tomorrow and just give him feedback, give him the positives and negatives. And, because it was very clear that he wanted to do another one and that the people wanted another one. So,
dude, it's Snorlax time, man. That was cool too.
That was dangerous, but I'm glad they figured that out real quick. They did Snorlax time where he had a couple guys dressed up in a Snorlax outfit throwing packs out. And the first time it happened, mobbed. These kids took Snorlax out. I think one kid got poked in the eye, but everyone was okay. Everyone was fine. But after that, he had to make sure, like, all right, guys, stay seated. You're not getting packs if you're running out. So it really was like crazy. It was he created a mob of children wanting Pokemon cards. It was amazing. It was really cool to see.
So do you remember what he did day 2 when it was Snorlax time? he had other people walk around the venue with higher value items. And if you were a
Mm,
kid and you were sitting down during Snorlax time, he'd come and give you one of the nicer items. So it could have been like a theme deck or like a pre-release kit or something of that nature. So at the end of this, he got on stage and said, all right, everyone that listened to me got something cool. But if you rushed, you bum rush Snorlax, it's like you missed out. So he, constantly positively reinforcing. It's kind of
yeah,
like the parent of all parents, but he's still fun in his own pat way.
yeah. He's also a dad, so
Yeah.
I think he handles that pretty well. And it's amazing. He gave away so much stuff to the community. He created so many amazing moments. Um, I sat on a couple panels, which was fun. He catered very well to each section of the place, whether it was VIP, influencers, the general admission. Everyone seemed to be catered to very well, and there to me, I didn't see too many hiccups or like anything really that would have caused too much frustration. I mean, the venue was great. There were so many great things about that event, um, and of course, seeing you and going to Disney, me, you, and Swolpoke, we took a nice little Disney day and hung out doing that. That was your first time going since you were 6, you said?
Yeah, yeah, swollen his 8 foot strides and his I hit the ride now, and it's like we're at like a light jog, like we got like Froyo, trying to eat a little bit, and Swole's like a bullet, like we got to hit Indiana Jones now, and just rushing. But no, I had been in Disney since I was a kid, mostly because I thought it was for kids, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
so as an adult, like I just felt kind of weird, like going, like I don't have kids right now, so
Mm.
it's like, do I want to go to a place? It's like, you don't go to the kids park, it's like, that's weird. So I was really surprised how you could go there as an adult and truly enjoy it. And it just, I mean, the Star Wars piece, like you guys kept nudging me like, dude, wait, you won't believe this.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Like you got to go to Disneyland if you've never been.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm not a crazy Disney adult by any means, but I love Disney, and it's it's all about the company. I mean, you and Swole, pleasure to hang out with and spend a day with, spend a weekend with. So yeah, we got to do both parks. We missed the Guardians ride, Guardians of the Galaxy. We missed the Cars ride, which those two are like the biggest. We just wanted to knock out some fun stuff, get some food in us. We had a couple corn dogs. We had the Dole Whip. We had all the necessities, and then we also kind of spent some time enjoying the artwork that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Disney, to tie this back into collectibles, um, Disney has a couple of shops where they have like really like in-house artists that they just hire to pump out different artwork that you want to buy. They have like every Disney character you can imagine. They have original. They have like a Walt Disney signed check. They have all types of cool collectibles and art. Did you end up getting one, or did we rush you?
I didn't. I thought you could pick like 6 or 7 characters, different sketches, and put them all in one. But really, you could only pick like one sketch. And if the sketch had 6 or 7 characters, that's what they charge you for. So I wanted to like throw like, Donald Duck diving into like the money picks. I always remember watching that as a kid, like DuckTales. And I wanted to throw like Hercules
Yeah,
on there and like Lion King, Mufasa. I remember we were
yeah.
making that Mufasa joke all weekend. But
Mufasa,
it's not about,
Simba,
yeah, every time I turn, you'd be in my ear band, Simba. I can't even go as low as
Simba,
you.
Zazu.
The Pirate's
We had
Life
so
for
much
me
fun.
was kind of fun too.
I ended up buying a new piece for my chain because of the Pirates ride. It's like a shipwreck coin, so I could
Really?
put it on my chain. Yeah, I'm in full pirate mode right now. I'm loving it. I don't know what's going on, but that ride I absolutely love.
Oh my gosh. You trying to break free, man? Blink twice if you need help.
Oh, no, I'm good.
No, no, no. It's all good. But it's not about the ride you miss. I think it's just about the time we had together. So
Yeah,
I loved every minute of that day. We got home and we're so sore. First thing I did is I went home and
yeah,
just showered, and then I like crashed in bed, and like I remember thinking like, oh, let's go get brunch in the morning. Then it's like 9 or 10 a.m. It's like, oh, I'm not moving. It's just
yeah.
that was a long day, man.
My feet have never hurt so bad. That
Yeah.
was tied in with the long weekend of the card show where we were on our feet the entire time too. So that was a lot. But let me pick your brain a little bit. Uh,
Right.
and you're again very in tune more so with the collecting side of the
Mm-hmm.
world, I would say, than the business side or whatever. Because you have one of the, you were the first to accomplish some amazing goals with the PSA registry and PSA 10 sets. If you guys don't know about Zack, Gem at Pokemon, go read a PSA mag. He's in there. Uh,
You're too nice, man. You're way too
but
nice.
but I'm really curious about your thoughts of the collectability of Disney Lorcana.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it's like? We've seen skyrockets with the D23 promos or whatever they're called, whatever, and the set's coming out, I believe, in August, end of August. So, curious about the collectability. What you think, especially fresh off of Disney, all hyped up on Oliver and Company, and Lion King, and all this fun stuff. What do you think?
The TLDR is, I would say, proceed with caution when it comes to the Disney set coming out. I was very fortunate enough to go to La Gala TCG in Paris that our good friend Mr. Fuji hosted, and one of the vendors there was Ravensburg, the company that's producing Disney Lorcana, and they actually had several people there demoing the new Disney game, and so they actually had demo cards from Lorcana there. You could see the whole set. You could hold not the whole set. You could see a portion of the set. They had a few different decks there. You could hold them, you could touch them, but they were like, there's nothing they could give out. They were like, we have to account for every card and send it back. So there's no way we can have it in the show, or anything to the collector. And they basically gave an overview that they're kind of anti-collector, that they're really pro-player. They're trying to really encourage people to play the game. They don't want any cards to be exclusive or have like a print of less than 1,000 or 10,000, or I'm just making this number up, but they don't want any limited cards.
Right.
That's probably the better way to say it. They want everything to be accessible to the general population. They want the kids to be able to get whatever card they need, whether it be the Hades or the Mickey Mouse or whatever it may be. So if you think of that approach and you think of the fact that they're not going to have any sort of special stamp card, or a card maybe you get one out of every 20 boxes, and this is just what they told us at the event. So again, this may be biased, this may have changed, and right. The event was back in April of 2023. But long story short, what I think is going to happen, this is just my opinion, is I think they're going to print a ton of Disney Lorcana. They're going to print it to oblivion. This is going to be the evolutions of 2016. This is going to be the Jungle Fossil of 1999. And while that may be valuable today, 25 years after it came out, there was a time in 2005 that Jungle boxes were like $20 a box, 36 packs, $20. And so if you're going to go into Disney Lorcana and you're going to buy 20 cases and you're going to forget about it, you're going to sit on it, I could see a scenario where 3 years from now, it may be the same price that it was at release, if not lower. Yeah. So if you don't have any chase, pieces that are extremely hard to get, it's mass produced. Just my experience in the hobby, seeing this with Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, just different scenarios and the highs and lows. I think this set is going to be very accessible. And I think I would proceed with caution if you're going to buy a bunch of it and sit on it. What do you think, John?
I mean, that's so frustrating to hear. I think a lot of people get caught up on, and I could be completely wrong here, but I feel like people look at Pokemon as a game to be played, and them focusing only on players. From the beginning, it was got to catch them all. They built a collectible hobby, and however they did it, they've somehow been able to avoid being portrayed as purely a collectible. It's a trading card game, it's a video game, it's a hobby that's enjoyed by many. It's not just like a buy these things, sit on them and enjoy them. It's do something with them. And I feel like companies probably like Disney look at Pokemon and just like completely glaze over that fact, especially if they're saying that they are looking purely on the collectability of it, or I'm sorry, purely the playability of it, because there are so many Disney fans that are collectors of so many different things that they produce. I mean, I'm about to go buy all those Spirit jerseys that we got introduced to. I picked up the Finding Nemo one. Like, I'm going to start collecting those. Those are sick. Those are going to be awesome vintage clothing pieces in the future. Sure, there's probably going to be a ton of them, and people
Yeah.
are definitely thinking of that and probably hoarding boxes of them in their storage units. But like, if that isn't influenced by Ravensburger, which I don't believe has ever produced cards, they produce high quality games and like puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a huge mistake, and I think they'll change very quickly if that's the case. So,
Well, some of the big feedback I've gotten from people that were at the event, and they're like, okay, this is what you're telling us. Then why haven't you kind of talked about your game mechanics or talked more about the decks or what's available? And if you are so player focused and we're so close to the release, why is everything so mysterious and so vague? Like, clearly everything's already in production. Clearly everything's already being printed. Printing something like this in this quantity takes many months, and it's done well ahead of time. So I'm sure that there's, maybe a million cases like already just sit off to the side, ready to be shipped everywhere, which is crazy to think about. But it's like, if you are player focused, then why aren't you doing the things that we would think would make you appear that way? And so why is everything still kind of hush hush? And I don't know if you want to talk about the news a little bit that came out last week where the CEO of Topps basically said, we think Ravensburger stole our IP. We actually built a similar game. The game mechanics are similar. Someone that worked for us actually went over there, and he posted a tweet about it that said, we're suing Ravensburger for stealing the Lorcana sort of mechanics and stuff.
Yeah. Who knows how well that'll hold up if Disney gets involved? Because I assume they're suing Ravensburger, not Disney.
Well, the person that created the card game. So some of the feedback I've gotten on that was all the card games basically are derived from Magic. So if you think Magic's kind of the true first, and then you kind of build off that, everything's kind of some sort of derivative of Magic, whatever it may be. So it's like, some of the feedback I got was, if they're truly suing them, then why did he make a tweet, or why did he make it so public? It's more of like a statement, and like a PR sort of push, or, Upper Deck's kind of, they're struggling a little bit. They lost a lot of their sports stuff going on. So their revenue pipeline is not quite as strong as it was last year or the year before. But the thought is, if you do this thing 2 months before, clearly they've already built the game. Clearly they've already produced everything. They're sitting all this sort of, sunk cost of this physical product has to go out somewhere. And so to me, it's kind of like a last push to try to do something competitive. But who knows? Maybe there's something more nefarious there that'll come out. But the way the PR sort of thing pushed, it makes me feel like there may be some ulterior motives going on. But time will tell.
Gotcha.
I mean, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's amazing that Upper Deck's still around after their fiasco with sports baseball cards in the 90s with the Griffey stuff. It's shocking. They own Michael Jordan, the rights to Michael Jordan signatures, LeBron and Tiger Woods, and probably some other like huge names. Yet they can't even like make these cards. It's unbelievable. So I think that's the only way they're alive still. But,
I remember in 1997, my grandma would get me like an Upper Deck box of cards where you had the whole set. And I was like, I got the Mark McGwire card, or I got the Sammy Sosa card, or whatever it was. It was like, there wasn't a pack. It was just a whole set. Like, I remember that like way before we even opened any packs.
Yeah. And, I wonder if that'll ever be the case. Wasn't that didn't that happen in Japan with Pokemon, where they were like made to order boxes? Was that real? Or did I read an article wrong? Was that a thing?
I mean, theme decks are kind of like the same in the U.S., but decks in Japan are kind of random. Yeah. But I mean, there are products where the card list is defined, but booster boxes being random, it's kind of like the one product that has more price variability, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the most like diverse thing you can get. But so what's going on with your collecting things, your collection these days? I mean, you got a funky piece of artwork in the background there. You got some Amphiro stuff. You brought Mr. Fuji a nice gift at Card Party. Hey, I know that one.
Did you get acquainted this weekend, or probably not your first time meeting?
It's not, but luckily. But
will be your last.
That's right. So yeah, what's going on in the world of collecting with Gem Mint Pokemon? Are you done? Are you still missing something? Can we help you get a card that you're missing?
Dude, I think sometimes like just post the wants list on Instagram. I feel like we're the most active on Instagram these days compared to like YouTube and other social medias. Like even like Facebook, I'm never on Facebook, but things will cross post here and there. But right now I've got the hollow sets completed. The non-hollow rare set I've completed outside of 3 Nighttime 2000 fossil rares, which are they're hard to get. The packs are like $900 a pack. So it's like, it's kind of like, are they really set cards? But you've already got the first edition limited. And then outside of that, I've got 80% of the commons and uncommons. And so I'm almost there, but even 80% is like, you still need like 700 cards. So it's like, still got a little ways to go in completing those sets. But some other big goals like the E-Series reverse hollows, they're 140, 160 cards in each set. I'm like 9 cards away out of like the 450 cards or so. Like that's crazy. I started collecting a little bit of Japanese. I'm 2 or 3 cards away from the Cora set. And so if you're not familiar with Cora, like if you know English Black promos.
Are you missing the Nidoking and maybe some other rare variant?
I think I actually bought Nidoking from Thorgene. So,
you've got the Nidoking. Okay.
Oh yeah, got the Nidoking. So I'm missing. Remember when we were in the line for like an hour? In the tombs, walking in Disneyland. I'm missing the Pikachu and the Jigglypuff, which are the 2 first Pokemon cards ever printed. So that's kind of not talking about test prints and this and that, just talking about what was released in the Core magazine. Then I'm also missing the Mewtwo. So
you have to remind me the Jigglypuff because I only looked at the Pikachus. So I'll have to see if one of those is available, but I could maybe help you out with that. We'll have to maybe, I'm sure there's a few viewers who could help you out as well.
If it's glossy, it's saucy. Just gloss is good. Gloss is good, baby.
Gloss is good.
Mm-hmm. Even gloss is hard to grade.
Well, what's the deal with the Jigglypuff? So the Pikachu is the Ivy Pikachu, right? Mm-hmm. Which we've somewhat discovered that the first edition print run error might have actually been a secret rare in booster boxes. I don't know if that ever got if that theory ever got proven. But the glossy or the Coro comics you were explaining, if you want to take this away from me because you know more than I do about this stuff. But the Coro promos were kind of like essentially the Black Star promos, but came out in magazines in Japan, right?
I like letting you simmer a little bit. Let's see where this goes.
Let's not.
No. I'm just giving you a hard time. No. The first edition you're talking about, that was the English version where you had the first Black Star promo with the first edition stamp. And so if you think of English Black Star promos, you start with the Pikachu, then you had the WB promos, then you had like the holographic Eevee, you had all these kind of cool cards all the way through. The core promos to me are like the Japanese equivalent that started back in 1999. So if you like English promos and you want to start collecting Japanese, to me, core is kind of the way to do it. But the surprising thing is a lot of the pops on most of those cards are like super low, which blows my mind because I don't know the print runs, but I would assume there's hundreds of thousands of each of these cards. Like they're very easy to get. Most of the core cards you can buy for $3 to $10 a card, just raw and plate condition. But to get a PSA 10 is like $1,000 or $5,000, or it's like crazy hard to actually get a PSA 10 of any of these. Very, very hard to grade.
Because they were released on like sheets essentially that you had the peel. Is that like the case with all of them?
Yeah, you get a little magazine booklet, kind of like a thick booklet. I may even have one back here I could grab. But you get like a little magazine booklet, you get a little piece out, then you just peel the card. And the hard part with peeling is if you mess up, you can kind of damage some of it, or the back centering may be different than the front centering. And a lot of times when I peel a card, I like to peel it all in one motion. And so I'll kind of work my way around the card. I try to not do the corner last. I feel like when I do the corner last, I always nick a corner. And so I try to have the card end on like an edge or like the middle of the card as you're peeling it up. And if you've ever peeled vending series, it's very similar to peeling Cora.
I thought it might be a little different. I've peeled thousands of vending. There's 2 boxes right here.
Yeah.
I've peeled thousands of vending, and it's just, you're quick. You like pop a corner, maybe 2 corners, and you just, you do it quick. But with the Coro promos, most of them were either a single card or like 2 cards on that little sheet in the magazine. So there's like less surface area of the whole thing, and it's a little maybe less rigid, so it's a little more difficult. But I haven't peeled any, if maybe just a few of those throughout my
Mm-hmm.
time.
And like one of the biggest condition issues on those is as you peel it, the outside of the front of the card is like a lip that kind of comes up a little
Yeah.
bit. And so you have a lip around kind of the whole card. And when you look at it, you're like, all right, that card's not flat. Clearly it's not perfectly flat, but every card is like that. So sometimes you'll grade one, it'll be perfectly centered on the back, front and back. And you're like, clearly this should be a PSA 10. Then you'll grade it, come back a 9. Like, why did this get a 9? It looks perfect. So I've had multiple cards like that.
Or a 6.
Yeah. Tell me about that, man. It's like, dude, you're hitting the wrong key, man. This is a 10, type 10. But you regrade the card, it comes back in 10. So I've had that happen a few times.
Yeah, that's interesting. You've come so close now, it seems, to English that you've now started to venture into Japanese, which is a dangerous venture. That's dangerous venture, man. There's so much. There's this unlimited honey holes, rabbit holes that you can go down with Japanese stuff.
Have you done any of those?
I have so much Japanese because, I've taken the influence of a lot of our peers, and thankfully, and I've bought so much. I haven't done anything with it. Because I just enjoy English more. Yeah. So I feel like I know it better and can deal with it better. So I've always dealt with English as the main kind of like part of my collecting and business. But once I got into the trophies, once I got into, the historical side of Pokemon, I started going deep into buying as many promos as I could, Koro stuff, even set cards and vending and all this stuff, because I got this. This is a very soft goal that I've had in mind that I don't know if I'll ever at this point achieve or go after, but I want to get every card in the Silver Bible.
Oh wow!
Into a binder, which would look super cool, like in the order that you see it, and like so I think that would be really cool. I mean, outside of the snaps and the trophies, it's very achievable, like incredibly achievable. But that stuff makes it, I guess, kind of a forever goal. So we'll
never stop collecting. That's one way to never stop collecting.
Yeah.
Dang, you gonna go buy a lottery ticket for you, man? I'll get one for me too.
It wouldn't even be enough. It's like, it's crazy. You can't even get some of those cards.
Yeah.
That's the problem at this point. But that would look super cool. You did mention during our Disney trip here as well that, and I've heard this idea from many, and it's a matter of like who will put it together first, I think, or maybe work together on it. But you have this dream of having like a Pokemon museum.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
I think that'd be such a cool way to just give back to the hobby, a way to kind of show people the hobby history. As a kid, I wasn't lucky enough to open a ton of booster boxes or this or that. I got a couple packs, and then grandma would come over with, 10 or 20 packs in the holidays. And I never really went to any of the big events or anything. I think I went to Toys R Us once as a kid, and maybe Books A Million once for Yu-Gi-Oh! And so as I got older and, you start working really hard and you have some more disposable income and you can build a collection, I have wanted to always go back to people who were there, who were lucky enough to experience the hobby, who went to Worlds in 04, who went to Worlds in 05, and to the regionals and got to do all the things that I couldn't do. And so I've been over the past couple of years buying a lot of memorabilia, that being play mats or banners or signs, or I even own a few Worlds trophies, like a first place or second place, glass ball trophy and some other things. So what I'm doing is trying to put together sort of this cool collection. And what I want to do is, nice little TMB medal there. There's a trophy for you. But what I want to do is I want to acquire enough sort of inventory where sort of I own it and I have possession of it so that I can open a museum. And the goal would be for the museum, you could go see 2004 and you could have Worlds, the play mat, you could have the trophies, or even like the physical trophies. And you could see that. And then you can have a section for 05 or maybe the U.S. National or the European, or you could go through the whole museum all the way around, and everything would probably be in Phantom displays. So, I mean, just going to say that those are pretty cool and UV resistant. But the goal is that you guys can come there and experience and enjoy it. And I don't want it to be a profit seeking venture in the sense that I don't want to charge $50 a ticket or whatever. Like maybe there's a $5 entry to help pay the lights, but I want to be able to run the museum at a loss so that like I could run it in perpetuity. And so I just need to get there financially to the point where, you could open a building and you could have all these things. They're all insured. They're all protected, and people could come from all over the world, and who knows where it would be, but you could basically see the Pokemon history or the hobby history, and you could see some of those cool things that, like, maybe you're like me, you didn't get the experience in person, but I can put together some sort of experience or some sort of way to interact with the items, or maybe we have video or things from the winners that they want to come by and sign something. And I think it'd just be a really cool way to showcase, what the hobby was and where it's going to go. So kind of have a next steps part of it as well.
That's awesome. Phantom Displays is great. Affiliate code in the link below. There's my first sellout. It's when you speak about like these historical things and the museum and putting this all together, when we first started, you well before me, but when we first started, it seemed so, there were cards that never surfaced. You were struggling putting together set cards because there just weren't like enough people out there doing this, talking about it, selling, whatever. When it came to trophy cards, it was just like one would pop up here, one would pop up there. When you would get together with a friend and put together like a number 1 and number 2 trophy, you would break the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of cards in both value and like monetarily, but also historically, that were at Card Party was the most incredible thing I've experienced. And I've seen some crazy shit. I mean, I got to hold the Pokemon Snap Pikachu. I got to hold 4 illustrators. I had the rare candy stuff with me, so more snaps. Heritage had their snaps, had their Kangaskhan. There were other cards that I won't mention. There was so much in one place, under one roof, in one room. It was unbelievable. Chloe had her PSA 10. She got her PSA 10 full art Pika. It was unbelievable. I never thought in a million years that would be doable, but now it is.
Dude, you talk about good vibes. And then we did it with our friends. Like, it was like all of our friends were there. And these are people who didn't own these things 3 or 4 years ago or didn't aspire to. And when I was a kid, I collected the base set cards and the jungle and the set cards. Like, I never had the trophies. That was never a goal. It was never seen as attainable. And so now as you get to learn more about the hobby and you get to appreciate the hobby and you get to see those truly exclusive rare items that are kind of almost like the pinnacle of collectability when it's out there, goals shift. And it's so cool to see us and many of the people that we love in the hobby go towards those goals. And it's so good to see many of those cards get in good hands as well too. So what do they say at the end of a good poem or the end of a good reading, that everyone just does the snaps? So I think you could snap 20 times and there may have been more snap cards there than just the snaps.
We had, I think, we were missing the Poliwag. We were missing the Articuno.
Poliwag's like one of the easy ones, right?
Well, the Poliwag, the winner sold all of his, so they're accessible. And then we were missing them. We were missing 3 snaps to have all 10 together at once, and we know where those 3 are. I could go take a day, 2 days, and go get them all.
Yeah.
Like, when I learned about the snaps, I could not wait for the day that, and I prayed that it was me. I don't own any snaps, and I probably never will, but that we could get all 10 of them together or have some guy own all 10 of them. But for years, Magikarp's gone. Doesn't exist. It was lost in a flood or something. Pikachu. Saw one way back in the day. There's one been up for a couple years. Mm-hmm. Is it real? We don't know. Magikarp pops up, a year and a half ago. Pikachu got bought, confirmed authentic. Mm-hmm. It's doable. it's such a cool achievement that could be accomplished now. I can't wait for that day to see all of them together, and
It'll happen
for us to
soon. I think
appreciate
it'll
that.
happen very
Yeah,
soon.
maybe at the next Lake Gala.
I don't know. Is that
I think.
is that announced yet?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure he'll have another one. This was his second one, right? In April.
Yeah, I think you're right. Was it the second Legala? I think it was the second Legala, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I missed out on that one, so I'm gonna have to try to get to the third one.
you're gonna get to the third one.
I hope so. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to Japan. You're going to Japan for Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are going to Japan. That's going to be a blast. Um, so it's really tough to like, I don't doing worldly travel every more than like once a year. It's a lot. I don't like flying that long. Anything over like 5 hours, I start to get claustrophobic and freak out. So we'll
You
see
just
how
need,
I
me,
do on my way to Japan.
just need me to fly with you, man. I'll sit next to you.
Yeah,
You know, I'll
just
keep
make
you
me feel
company.
safe, Zach.
Whatever I can do, man. Whatever I can do. But no, if you go to the next Legala, hopefully I can see you there, and maybe sooner than we think. So not my
Yeah,
place to spoil anything, but I'll let Mr. Fuji say what he wants to say when it's time. But the next Legala may be upon us. So we'll see.
yeah. I'm excited. That was the first time I saw Mr. Fuji since I was in Dubai. Um,
Really?
and did that crazy trade for the 97 Pika. So that was really great seeing him, man. I it's the people that are you're able to get together
Mm-hmm.
with now. It's so fun. It's so if you guys aren't going to these shows, whether or not you're hanging out with us or your own friends or meet new friends, going to these shows is so much fun, and you can build that core group of friends. Like I lucked out with my group of friends, right? Like they
Yeah.
just happen to be, you know, everybody that we're talking about here. It's uh, been so cool to be able to connect with such amazing people, amazing collectors, amazing influencers, whatever you're doing, um, and it's it's special, man. Pokemon is a special thing in our lives.
Yeah, I think it's really important to me that at the events everyone feels included and you feel welcome.
Yeah,
I think in life, we all grow up and sometimes you're not included or you're not welcome or you're not able to do certain things. And so even if you don't know us in person or if you want to go to an event and hang out, and sometimes I'll say hey to someone and we'll sit down and we'll talk for 10, 15 minutes or, if we're all in the hotel lobby hanging out, like come hang out. And so I don't want anyone to feel like they're not included.
yeah,
To me, it's one of the most important things. And there are some events where there's some things where it does get a little exclusive. And I try to push the event organizers to keep things open for everyone, as in don't make too many things too exclusive. It's one thing
yeah,
to have a private room where you can kind of get away and breathe and stuff. It's another thing to say, oh, we're only going to do 100 people for this. It's like, do something where everyone can be involved, or if you're going to do a trade
yeah.
night area, like make it big enough to where everyone can come. And so it's one of the most important things to me in the hobby to make it open for everyone.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Um, definitely not for us, but like PokeRev and that level of people, they need their private rooms for sure. I appreciate it. I love having that to get away and take a breather.
Yeah.
I don't need it by any means, but for him, he couldn't take a step without getting a line formed
Yeah.
for PokeRev. It was unbelievable. It was so cool to see. And same with Cool Trader Ryan, who has recently started coming up in content. Like I've been friends with him for ages. He was having a blast, talking to his fans, his kids, that watch his stuff, and um, it was really really cool to see like a lot of people coming out of their shells or like just doing what they really enjoy. Like we've all loved like Pokemon has treated us all so well, and it's just like paying dividends at this point where we can bring enjoyment to others with it. So I'm just so stoked for what's going to happen in the next couple of years and just the rest of my
Yeah.
life. What a life we live, huh?
I know, and I think one of the biggest takeaways from Card Party when I got on the plane to come back is I wrote out my 2023 goals. I always do it every year, but kind of halfway through, I went through and I just wrote out everything in a big list. And I went through the hobby, and I think a lot of us interact in the hobby, and it's like, okay, there's the auction houses, there's the creators, there's the the vendors, there's the people we see, and we always see a lot of the same people at these things, but everyone kind of has a different role, and sort of they participate in a different part of the hobby. And so it's like, clearly, we're in a good place, but where's the hobby going to be in 5 years? Where's it going to be in 10 years? And so how does the dynamic of all these things, how does it change, or how does it grow, and how can we give back? And I think part of you making your podcast here, and then me doing some stuff as well, is we want to grow with the hobby, and we want to provide that value back to everyone. And so I think some people forget that we're just on the precipice. Like, Pokemon is still very young, it's still very new. There's such a long way to go. We're going to get old and become Mr. Fuji's ourselves, and move on, and it's just going to be grown and thrive, and things are going to be great. And so if you treat it that way, and you don't treat it as if it's a mature hobby, it's still kind of a newer hobby, it's still exploding, then hop on the train, make content yourself, get out there, show your favorite cards, meet some friends, go to an event, and then just grow with it and blossom with the hobby, become who you want to be. And I think that's kind of what really inspired me to just like let's all do this together. Everyone jump on the train, and let's just go all aboard, man.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities to get involved in Pokemon now. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But so yeah, dude. One more question for you about your collection, and I asked Nick about this in the podcast coming up right after we're done recording, but about his Ninetales.
Mm-hmm.
How many no symbol Jolteons do you have?
Oh man, you guys are gonna. Oh man, this is one of those.
Be honest.
Oh man,
it's gonna crush the market, but be honest.
Oh man, this is one of those weird questions where like if someone owns like so many of something, you're like, stop hoarding it, share it, this and that, and
it's your favorite card.
I know, I get that argument. It's like one of the only cards.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'll buy it at market all day because I'm like, it's just the best artwork ever made. I mean, clearly it's the best Pokemon ever made. We could have stopped at Jolteon, and that could have been it. I mean, Jolteon is it is what it is. If I were to guess, I would say I'm probably around 70 or 80 PSA 9s. I'm probably around maybe 6 or 7 PSA 10s, maybe 20 or so PSA 8s. I didn't really collect those until maybe a year or so ago, or maybe like 2 years or so ago. And then raw, I've got a couple binder pages, and I think it'd be cool to do a whole binder, but then you get into the gold star territory where it's like, hey, Zack, you cutting sheets? And it's like, no, just just a collector. Just, got a little too passionate there. But, Jolteon, I mean.
Well, you've got 150 Jolteons or so, which, I mean, to be fair, the no symbols they're not that rare compared to Nick's no damage Ninetales, just in that comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Nick has 49.
Is that what he told you? Oh, he gave me a higher number. He must have been holding out on you.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's lying. He said he was one away from 50.
It is a 9 tails. 9 long lives.
9D?
What?
I still don't even have one for my own binder, so I'm gonna go just like I'm gonna have to buy one from him eventually.
I wrote him a really nice note one time, and it did on the play of like, if you think like a tall tale, like a telling a story. So you have 9 tales, kind of like sort of legends that matter. I kind of did a little play on that, and just, who knows what the 9 tales are. Pokemon lore, but who knows? Go deep
Can
here,
we get
baby.
that book? Let's get that book. Bring it.
I don't know.
Bring that out. Let's write a book together. It'll be a children's book about the legend of the 9 Tails.
Legend of the 9 Tails and the secrets of Jolteon.
And the secrets of Vulpix.
Secrets of Vulpix. Oh my gosh. I got a shiny Alolan Vulpix and an egg the other day. I was like stoked. You may have seen it. I may have shown you when it happened.
No, you showed the Sableye.
Oh yeah, that was pretty dope too.
That was a cool one. The gold Sableye. That was awesome.
Yeah, walking with Slowpoke definitely helps with cracking the eggs. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Pogo eggs crack easy.
Pogo at Disney is phenomenal. I need to get back on that.
Yeah, I love like popping lures every now and then. Then people, I don't know, just everyone around you gets a little extra Pokemon.
You love giving. That's the vibe of Gem Pokemon. He loves to give and make everyone around him make their lives better.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's what I've gathered from knowing you for 7 years, 8 years.
it's, I think, it's really hard to give people something that have everything. In the sense that, as a collector, what do you buy? You buy the card you want. And it's really hard
Mm-hmm.
if someone wants $1,000 card, it's really hard to give that $1,000 gift. And so what I value is, what's something I would want to receive as a gift? What's something that I would want to give myself? And so I think the gifts that mean the most are the ones that have a lot of thought, the ones that, take a lot of sort of care and stuff, and really think about what someone really likes and their needs and their wants. And you do something that they don't expect. And so if people ever expect something or a handout, it's like, all right, no, not happening. But the moment you don't expect something to do something for someone, I think it just means the world. So like this weekend, I gave Swolepoke a little thing of Larvitar stickers. It was like 10 little stickers. And like, to me, it's just something cool I thought he would like. And I turned around, he had them all in the back of his phone. And it was like, he loved it that much. It was pretty cool. One other really cool thing I like doing every now and then, and I said earlier, I don't like doing giveaways. I think it kind of attracts sort of the wrong audience that I want to interact with. But when you do a gift, I don't necessarily like to share it publicly. I like for it to just be to the person it's for, and then they can share whatever they want. But a lot of times I'll do handwritten notes to people. And so if someone does like an eBay message or something, or, like something with the order, or someone sends a card like, hey, can you sign this? I'll send people back like a long handwritten letter. And I've done a reasonable, I've done some of those over the years to different people, and they're always unexpected. So I never want the person to think they're going to get some cool note, but I always try to give them a little bit of advice and how to collect and this and that. And it's, to me, I think that people probably really appreciate that, especially if they're trying to figure out what they want to collect in the hobby or find their way. And I think a little bit of encouragement to people goes a really long way.
It's amazing. That's Gem at Pokemon in a nutshell right there.
You got to be a role model, man. You do it, and people, you want people, you got to set the example you want to create. So be the person that you want the hobby to be.
That's right. Well, Zach, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate your wisdom, your content, everything that you do for me, for Pokemon. Keep on going. Keep on doing it. I can't wait to see where your podcast leads, where your content leads. Very excited for it to get Gem at Pokemon back in the game. Just for me though, make it like a super high quality old style video for me.
Old style video? What does it even mean?
Or it doesn't even have to be high. Like whatever video you have of you like teaching someone how to grade or grade cards, just do it again. One more time.
Oh my gosh. I do have.
It might not get a lot of views, but I'll watch it 1,000 times.
Oh my gosh, you're way too kind. I do have a PSA returns from 2017 that I never opened, and it's still sealed. It's one of my 15 card PSA returns where you had the free 15 cards. And the reason I didn't open it was because I had to check the grade early, because someone had a card we wanted to do a deal with, and I knew the returns had finished, and I needed to know before the cards got back. And so it's one of the very few times I looked at the grades before the cards came back. So if you're not familiar, anytime I do a PSA returns, I don't look at the grades. I always look at them live on camera, one card at a time, so you can always appreciate each card. And so because I knew the grades in this returns, and because they were all collection cards I didn't want to sell, I just kept the return sealed, and I still have it sealed right now. I still have not opened it. So at some point I'll record a video of opening a 2017 PSA returns, and who knows what year.
That'll be interesting.
There's some heat in there too.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. But thank you again for hopping on the podcast. I appreciate your friendship and appreciate getting to spend time with you again at Card Party this past weekend. So everyone be sure to go follow Gem at Pokemon on all the socials, YouTube, everywhere, and check out Next Gen TCG, another great Pokemon podcast. So Zach, man, thank you. I hope you have a incredible weekend, and I will be seeing you very soon.
Thank you, man. Subscribe to PokemonRadar. It's growing, man. He's becoming so good. I can't wait to see what you do in the future, man. I think you're going to be incredible. So subscribe to PokemonRadar, everyone. Let's see this podcast get, tons of views. I can't wait to see where we are next year, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right. See you guys. Thank you, everyone.